Outlook, but I'm not signed both places.
That's right. Well, you go automatic to vice chair, you know that, right?
Well, that's theoretically.
It's and secretary, by the way.
Ronnie.
You're both.
Yeah,
We're gonna put some out.
Oh, we
I know.
can.
Yeah.
November.
Steven, this still doesn't work.
It works on mine. They think all the time, they're gonna make some.
Do I have my, I have my gavel.
Hey man, how you doing?
How are you using Maps instead of Google Maps?
Said there were 2 of these that did not work.
Are you guys, is everyone, Mr. Don, you want to move down?
I can't, the voting thing will be changed. You
Ah,
gotta stay where you're at.
Hey, we're gonna sit down.
Yeah, it's so not working.
just be by yourself.
Nancy,
Your own
you just
clip.
holler if you need help, we'll come around it.
I think she's well advised to take care of herself.
Matt?
Okay, I'd like to get started, please.
Never say that.
Thank you.
Nope.
Thank you very much.
I don't like to be late.
You want to.
All right.
I know. That's why I wanted them to check. Yeah, down here. Okay.
101.
I am trying to get the need.
Just beat it, we're long.
I'd like to call, this is a regular scheduled public hearing of the Shreveport Metropolitan Planning Commission. And before we get started, I'm going to ask Mr. Young if you would like to say our invocation. And please stand if you'd like to join us.
Thank you.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we just lift you up in glory and praise and thank you for all the blessings you've given us, Lord. We just come to you now as we get ready for this public meeting to ask you to put your hand upon us to make the wise decisions for our community. Lord, we're just thankful we can live in this great city, in this great state, in this great country. And we just look forward to the opportunity to continue to take the blessings that you give us and let them be used to further your glory as we come together in this meeting. Just be with upon us as we make these decisions and we hear these cases. All these things we ask in the name of Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Young. I want to welcome everybody to our regular scheduled public hearing of the Shreveport Metropolitan Planning Commission. I'm going to kindly ask you to please turn off all cell phones while the board is in session. If you wish to speak for or against an application, we have slips at the speaker stand next to this podium. For future notification purposes, it is very important for you to fill out a slip and drop it in the box when you come forward to speak. Please state your full name, mailing address, and zip code before addressing the board. We will call each case on the agenda in order and hear first from the applicant and then those speaking in favor. 10 minutes are allotted for the principal spokesperson and 3 minutes for each additional speaker. And we will try to adhere to that really closely. So again, you'll have 10 minutes for the principal spokesperson and 3 minutes for each additional speaker. We will then hear from those wishing to speak against an application. Again, 10 minutes are allotted for the principal spokesperson and 3 minutes for each additional speaker. One representative of the application can then speak in rebuttal if desired. After hearing comments on each case, the board will then immediately deliberate and vote on that case before moving on to the next case on our agenda. Please note that when the board is deliberating, members of the public are not permitted to comment. A written notice of the decision will be mailed to all applicants. Any member of the public may request decisions and information on a particular case by contacting our office at 318-673-6480 after 12 noon tomorrow, or by accessing our website at shreveportcaddompc.com. Any members of the public may also register to receive notifications for MPC meetings and agendas by clicking on the Notify Me icon on our website. If you wish to speak on an item that is not on the agenda, you'll be permitted 3 minutes at the end of the public hearing. If you're not sure whether the item you're interested in is included on today's agenda, please include this question on the slip that you place in the box. The staff will ensure that you are provided an opportunity to address the board at the proper time. All of our decisions are subject to appeal either to the City Council or Parish Commission, depending on the location of the property in question. If your application is appealed or requires final approval by the governing body, You're advised to contact your city council person or parish commissioner at your earliest convenience. Please note that it is your responsibility to contact the appropriate governing body about their procedures as related to the matter you are concerned with. Copies of this monologue providing follow-up information on the zoning processes and phone numbers to contact the governing bodies are available on the table next to the podium and in the entryway to into this room. And there is some coffee and Mensa out there for you to enjoy too. So welcome again, and with these opening remarks, I am going to I have some remarks I'd like to share, first of all, before we get to the regular agenda. First of all, I think we've got several new people. Got one person on our board that was newly appointed by the Caddo Commission, and I think a new staff member. Stephen, would you like to do the honors of introductions?
As the public may or may not be aware, last meeting was Larry Ferdinand's last meeting after long service with this board. Immediately following that, his resignation, the Caddo Commission appointed Miss Lavette Fuller. Lavette, if you will stand, please. Lavette is our newest member of the MPC. She's currently employed as a teen service coordinator with the Shreveport Library Administration. She is an alumnus with a Bachelor of Arts in Dance at Centenary College of Louisiana, and she's also has master level hours from the Louisiana State University. And from what I understand, when she did her presentation to the Caddo Parish Commission, she has been extremely involved in several meetings that involving the master plan and also with the Unified Development Code, and has been following those two projects along prior to as a citizen prior to her appointment. So we're pleased to have her aboard.
Welcome. Thank you.
We also have a new staff member. As you may recall, the last meeting we said goodbye to a staff member that had been with us for 40 years. Ms. Ione Dean, and so we have a staff member that's now, she got to spend a little time with Ione before she left, and her name is Miss Ebony Mapp. And Ebony, could you stand, please?
All right.
And Ebony is a graduate from with a master's degree with the University of Illinois in Chicago. She also has a bachelor's degree from the University of Maryland in Business Administration. She most recently was employed as the Economic Development Special Projects Manager with the City of Shreveport. So many of you probably have interacted with Ms. Mapp over the last few years in that capacity, and we're pleased to have her aboard.
Well, yeah, she's right there. Welcome. Welcome. Glad to have you.
You want to go ahead and go into the report regarding the master plan while I'm here?
Sure.
Last city council round, we did have the approval of the food systems master plan. That was a plan that this body recommended approval for the city council. That was passed unanimously, and so now have that as a part of our plan that will be, I'm sure will be. When I talked to Grace Peterson, who's the one that led that effort, among many other community volunteers, they're very hopeful that those endorsements will help them obtain grant funding. So I believe we'll be hearing from them periodically about their progress on implementing that plan. We also, of course, have the Unified Development Code continues to move along. Near the end of at the end of next month, we will have the review committee, the draft review committee will be going over in detail with Camiros the plan. In the meantime, we will be reviewing that plan and providing feedback to them regarding the draft, and probably somewhere in December or the first of next year, we'll be having a series of public meetings after that first review is completed. And that's the end of my report.
Well, thank you, Mr. Jean. Appreciate it. I also have one more thing I'd like to congratulate another member of our staff, Mr. Alan Clark. He was honored by being appointed Vice President of Finance for the American Planning Association for Louisiana chapter. Congratulations. Very good. All right, with these opening remarks, we will hear the first case on the agenda. And that would be case number SC 36-14, Moore and Associates, Inc.
Good afternoon. Andy Craig, Moore and Associates, 6025 Buncombe Road, Shreveport 71129. This case is, this plat is just a consolidation of the lot for the storage project that's going to be built on it. The site plan was approved, I see on the staff report, back in '08, so maybe Ms. Smith and Dale can remember that. I don't know if anybody else was on the board then, but anyway, so it's just a little house cleaning to get that project on after all these years.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Is there any? Yes. Mr.
Craig.
Aramides?
What, Mr. Craig?
I mean Craig, I'm sorry. I
I'll
knew
take it
that.
as a compliment.
I know that, I'm sorry. I apologize.
What is the project?
It's mini storage,
Let's say that again.
mini storage,
Okay.
yeah. There's an existing one behind it, it's just an extension of that. We just need to get this plat
Okay.
in for this unplatted portion here.
That's the only question I have.
Anybody else have any other questions? All right, thank you. Is there anybody that is in opposition of this case? Please come forward now. Okay, seeing none. I'm going to, is there any discussion?
Madam Chair, motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion to approve and a second. I'm going to call for the vote. Yep, no, it's done. Is that it? Done, okay. Motion approved. Case number SP 38-14, Carl Bretz.
Members of the commission, I have some handouts. I don't know,
Yes, please hand it to the gentleman.
I'd like
next
for
to you.
everybody to have one of those. My name's Robert McKenzie, and I'm an attorney in Shreveport. I'm here to represent Mr. and Ms. Carl Bretz, who are seeking to re-subdivide Lot 15 of Huckleberry Ridge, Unit 2. It's off of Ellaby Road, at the corner of Ellaby Road and Bob White Lane. The handouts that I gave you, the first thing is the proposed plat, and then for your information, the next plat is the original plat that was filed in 1953, and then it was re-subdivided in 56. The next exhibit is a copy of the Louisiana law that applies to amending restrictions in subdivisions where there is no provision for amendment. And then we have a letter from Mr. and Ms. Bretz that they sent to every member of the lot owners in the subdivision. And then the next thing is a copy of the actual document that we prepared to amend those restrictions so that we could re-subdivide this lot and be in compliance. And then the last two things are letters from two people in the water well business that talk about the Wilcox Aquifer that has been the subject of a lot of conversation through the years out there in that area, and was raised by one of the people that opposed this application. The original plat to this subdivision that was filed in 1953 had one sentence at the end of it that said that the property could not be re-subdivided. It was later re-subdivided legally by the owner of the subdivision in 56, and they took 5 lots and squeezed them down and made 4 out of it, and actually 3 of those 4 lots were bought by the Woods family, and they were the parties that filed the opposition, and the access to their property is off Ellaby Road, and you actually really can't see their house from this subdivision because of the trees. The handout that I gave you is a copy of Louisiana Civil Code Article 780, and years ago this was enacted because there was no provision to amend any subdivisions restrictions that were silent, and it was just necessary sometimes to do that. So the article basically says that when subdivision restrictions are silent, if they've been in effect for 15 years, that with the signature of over 50% of the landowners, exclusive of any streets, that the subdivision restrictions can be amended. And I've included that along with the document, a copy of the document that we will record in the Caddo Parish conveyance records if this application is approved, and that will comply with the provisions for amending these restrictions. There's only 12, the original subdivision had 12 lots, and they pared it down to one, so there's really only 11 lots in the subdivision now. 5 of the lots, 3 on the east side of Bob White Lane and 2 on the west side, they access their property off of Ellaby Road. And so you can't even, you really can't even see their property. Most of it's covered by woods, and so traffic on and off Bob White Lane is not going to be appreciably affected by this. The letter from the Woods family brings up 2 issues. One of them is the fact that the plat contains this prohibition against further re-subdivision, and we've dealt with that favorably for Mr. and Mrs. Bretts. And the other thing that they raised was the water in the Wilcox aquifer, and they say that they are they've had to rework some of their wells through the years. There is a letter in there from Larry Laborde, who is a civil and environmental engineer. He kind of outlines the history of the Wilcox aquifer and the water problems in that area, and he concludes by saying that the aquifer has recently been taken off the list of the Louisiana Department of Natural Resources list of areas of concern. And so if it was a problem at one time, then he did not feel like that it was any more concern. There's also a letter from John Talley, who is the owner of Complete Well and Pump Service in Keithville, and he says that his studies show that the actual Wilcox aquifer has increased by 1 foot in the past 2 years. So the 2 lots that are going to be that we want to make out of this, one of them is the house that the Bretts live in right now, and the other lot is we intend to be purchased by Dr. and Mrs. Cooper Hurd, and they are very conscious of water use. They are committed to conserving the water for irrigation purposes in their yard. In fact, a lot of their house and lot is going to be hardscape, and that just means that it's going to be areas that do not require as much water as other areas. I think everybody agrees that the best solution to water problems, either in the Ellaby Road area or anywhere else, is for all the landowners to be prudent about their use of water. And one of these letters from Mr. Laborde says that the average house uses 300 gallons of water a day for home use, and so the biggest culprit in overusing water is water in their yard for landscape purposes. We have today with us Mr. Frank Harris, and Mr. Harris lives next door to Mr. and Mrs. Bretts, and I think that he is most impacted by the Hurds building a house, and the house will be next to them, and he's here today to speak in support of this application, and also Carl Bretz and Dr. Cooper Hurd are here. If you want to hear from them, we certainly would offer their testimony.
Thank you. I need you to state your address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry, Robert McKenzie, 664 Unadilla, 71106.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. McKenzie? Yes,
Mr. McKenzie?
Mr. McKenzie,
Yes.
we have a question for you.
Just so I'm clear on this, there's currently a home on the property that's subject to the,
Lot 15, that's correct.
there's one home on it, so they want to subdivide the lot and sell the, I guess, extra space. But, okay. And,
The home is going to be, if this passes, the home is going to be located on a 1.70 acre tract, and the house, the lot that we want to sell to Dr. Hurd is going to be 1.13 acres.
okay. And is that consistent with the rest of the lots in the neighborhood, or the size of the?
Yes, your staff,
Okay, I see it on page
yeah,
2 of your handout.
They note that it is consistent with some of the lots in the back of the subdivision. Now, it's not true of the lots that Mrs. Woods has, you know, but that's a completely different
So,
matter.
but most of the lots, apparently, it appears that most of the lots around it are more than 3 acres, right?
Yes, sir, until you get to the back, and then they're less than
So
3.
this would be inconsistent with everything immediately around the home where the,
Yes, sir,
Okay.
you've got the plat, yeah.
Okay.
It is.
Across from it isn't, though. If you look across from it, it's not inconsistent. Mr. Young?
Thank you, Madam. Mr. McKenzie, in your paperwork, you said that with 51% of the people that are registered in that subdivision according to Louisiana state law, that the guidelines or the restrictions could be amended. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Has 51% voiced their opinion in writing in some matter?
Yes, sir, you have a copy of that document.
Well,
I
I
don't
thought
see
I
it.
did, but
Do we have a petition or something?
There's
I
a
see the
copy.
amendments.
Yeah, the amendment, yes, sir. That is signed by more than 51% of the land area people. The only people that did not sign that was the Woods family, and they have 25% of the total land area in the whole subdivision, and there were 2 other landowners that did not sign. And that's all. Everybody else signed.
I just wanted to make sure everybody was
All
on,
right.
understood where you came with that 51% and the fact that there is a proposed amendment. This has been recorded already?
No, sir, there wasn't any reason to record it if we don't get approved.
That's all, Madam Chair.
All right, anybody else have a question for Mr. McKenzie? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak in favor of this application? Good afternoon. Just please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Frank G. Harris III. My address is 437 Bob White Lane, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71106. I have Parkinson's, and if you have a problem understanding me, I'll be glad to repeat. No problem at all. I'm a retired independent geologist of 51 years here in Shreveport, and my wife and I live right next door to share a common border with the property with the herd and best proposal. My wife and I fully support this position, and we would look forward to having the herds as our next door neighbor. I want to say that as a geologist, I've lived in this present residence for 22 years now. There has been very little problem with water, and it seems to me to be related more to the neighbors and people involved using their water judiciously as far as watering their lawns and that is concerned. We have not had, now that's not to say that the water wells they're not trouble-free as any well. Probably has to be reworked in some way during the life of that well. And in this area, it seems to be about every 5 to 10 years, but that doesn't mean that the well has to be completely re-drilled. Although that has happened too. I won't say that it hasn't. But I do not think that water is a problem. Even during the periods of drought, it takes so long for water that is deposited to enter a formation and move through that formation to a wellbore or to an aquifer that is being drilled for. So we are wholeheartedly for this subdivision and hope that you will vote in the affirmative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any questions for Mr. Harris? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward. Oh, I thought he was coming up.
I did too.
All right, nobody else in favor? All right. Is there anybody that wants to speak in opposition of this application? Please come forward now. All right, seeing none, I will now open it up to a motion and discussion. We need a motion first, and then we can discuss.
So
We
moved.
discussed before we had a motion.
I don't know, you have to make a motion first and then discuss.
Well, I may want to hear the discussion before I make my motion.
Well, then, would anybody like to make a motion?
Betsy
I
did.
made a motion.
She
I'm
said so
sorry,
moved.
okay, your motion to
Move.
approve?
Mhm.
All right, do I have a second?
So we can move on, seconded.
All right, we have a motion to approve and second, now open up for discussion.
You can't go to discussion without second, you gotta go.
No, that's fine. I guess just so I'm on the same page, so we have more than half of the neighbors are okay with this, except for the 25% landowners who own 175 acres behind the subdivision. Is that correct? We
There
had
were
another.
two no's, two opposition letters.
Okay.
One was by the Woods family, and I think the next one was by,
Maybe 2 or 3.
Okay.
There's 3 of them, I think.
I thought it was
A, B, and C.
but I may be corrected. There you are
There's
correct.
a Dr.
Yeah, there's 3.
Mark Farashi,
You too.
and a Dr. Mufires, I don't know how to say his name,
And then the Woods
and then a
family.
Michael Woods, yeah. Stephen, can you elaborate, is there anything to elaborate on the water situation? I know that we got, when I first came on to the board, we got prepped and educated a lot on the drought conditions, but
Well, what was reported earlier by the applicant is correct. There was in this general area, and especially centered around areas around Mayo Road, there was a emergency order that was in place for some time. That was lifted, I would say, within the last 6 months. I think that as we have discussed this in recent past, where the issues that we're, greater density developments, where you have high density, like the R1Ds and the R1C developments, where you're drawing a lot of different homes off of a particular aquifer, that has been problematic, and we've recommended that you not do that.
Right.
We've had numerous cases where they've been one lot at a time,
Right.
where it may not be an issue. This is something we just have to monitor periodically. We haven't received any information recently that we're continuing to have a problem with that, but I would exercise caution on large developments,
Okay.
of putting large developments in. We've had some requests for doing that, where we've had high density, and when we talk to our different experts in the area that deal with this issue frequently, they recommend that we not do that in the future.
So, and it say we approve this subdivision, then we are setting a precedence for the lot next to it, and next to it, and next to it, right? So,
Well, right now, you have other provisions within the ordinance that talks about average lot size. That's contained within the R1D designation. RA does not have such a provision, but you can, and you should, look at the character of that community and whether or not that this is commensurate with the character of that community. And, that is somewhat, oftentimes what you will consider is whether or not the configuration of the lot would change the way that you would see the homes sited as you drive down the street. Sometimes, a subdivision that may be proposed would change the way that is, where it's inconsistent with the pattern in the neighborhood. Those are the things you can consider as you go through. If you have very wide lots and all of a sudden you're introducing some very narrow lots, that's something you can consider as well. But there is not any hard and fast rule as it is stated in the R1D, where you actually have to consider average lot size in regional subdivision. That is not contained in the RA. It just talks about general compatibility issues.
okay, another question when I was reading through this. I know the water expert person that was talking about this said, if the people put in sprinkler system, landscaping sprinkler systems, and they don't use it wisely, but we have no control and or jurisdiction over that. This is not going to be a site plan approval and all that, so.
Not in this case, but
Or
you can
just-
consider, if you believe that the aquifer could be impaired by this development, there's one house going on there, obviously you could take that into consideration. If you believe you have enough information that leads you to believe that's an issue. The only time that I remember when we have had discussions in this regard is, again, was when we had Gary Hansen come and actually do a presentation to this board back, I want to say, was it 2011, 2012?
Yeah.
His concern was primarily on the more dense developments and high numbers of development that are
Well,
drawing water.
that's how I remember it. Okay.
Right. Is there a time when one straw too many in the glass is too many? There may be. We don't have any empirical data to tell us what that is at this point.
Thank you, Stephen. Mr. Young.
Just for comments, our water issues were exacerbated in our rural areas by the fact that when the Haynesville Shale first took off, we were allowing groundwater wells to feed the 2 million gallons that it took to frack. And then that came to a halt, and they had to start using more surface water as opposed to groundwater, which by then, they'd already tapped it really hard. And now it's recovering because we're back to normal consumption, normal residential consumption use, some light business and industrial, but mostly residential. It was never intended to pull 2 million gallons out to frack a well. Not that kind of draw. And it takes a long, protracted period for it to re-energize itself. As we see, it's just come back up a foot, and we've had, even though we've been a little bit behind on rain, we've had some decent water. So I'm not as concerned about the water well issue as I am, are we changing the nature of the neighborhood? That's my bigger concern, because these are very large lots. I know who owns the corner lot. I know the woods personally. So that's my only issue. Are we changing the nature of the look?
If you look right across from it, though, there's smaller lots.
And I think that was my only
Just
comment, was to,
keep in
I mean, it
mind.
seems to be that's what the neighbors want, but sometimes if, maybe next time someone asks for something that's not as popular, and we've already set the precedent that they can subdivide this even against the covenants, and, maybe they want to put a 1,400 square foot home on it, which would probably be extremely unpopular. Well, could we say no to that and not say no to this? But, and this is just comments, but it just seems to be the will of what the neighbors want is to subdivide this, but sometimes it may not be, in the end, what they want long-term, but.
Any other discussions?
I just want to be clear that we understand whether or not they have legally already established that they can amend this covenant. I mean, have they or have they not? I mean, it says,
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Nancy, what I
Yeah,
asked the
it's not-
question, they did not actually, they have the signatures, there's at least 51% of landowners, but they have not filed it to record it
Exactly.
as
well,
amended to the covenants of that neighborhood or the restrictions of the neighborhood. I'm sure if it was approved, they would run down and do so as soon as possible, so it would, legally, they would now fall within the new amended
okay,
guidelines.
I'm just trying to,
Read it.
if we're looking out for the nature of the subdivision, and let's let the neighbors decide that. I mean, they all, if 2/3 of them already decided that they agree with it and it's fine, I mean, our concern shouldn't be greater than their concern, that's what I'm saying. But I'm not sure what the numbers are on the neighbors and who actually lives there. I'm just trying to get a better grip on that. Because they do have the right to amend their own covenant.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be too heavy-handed in interfering with their right to do that. That's what I'm saying.
Good point.
Does that make sense? And I don't know if, I guess the lawyer, Mr. McKenzie, had an argument there.
Any other discussion? All right, then I am going to call for the vote. And motion approved. Case number SC 39-14, Fern Marketplace LTD.
My name is Bob Basinger. I'm engineer with Fort and Tablata, 8650 Business Park Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71105. I'm here representing the owner and requesting approval of this one-lot subdivision where Whole Foods will be built. Any questions?
Just a minute, sir.
I imagine the only question is how soon could you build it? so.
Hey, hey. Any questions for the board other than that?
I think just to
Stephen.
point out that there are, if you look on that plat, there are a number of servitudes that are indicated on the plat. What that does is preserve the circulation pattern that you approved as a part of your site plan. So that
Say that
makes sure
again?
it does actually function in the fashion that you have approved. It's consistent with the approval of the site plan that was in front of this body a few months ago.
Fern and what?
Between the bank.
Is this standard for this to come back to us, or is this something that's, is this a correction, or?
No, sir. What currently in the ordinance, anytime that a piece of property has not been defined as a lot of record, it must be a lot of record, and that is actually illegal. The process of that is subdividing the property. And this, in effect, what this does is defines this site as a building site. They could have done this concurrent with the approval of the site
Okay.
plan. They could have done it previous to that. Oftentimes, just because they're not sure where they fall in the approval process, they'll actually do it after the fact. But it is a prerequisite of getting a building permit.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Bassinger. Is that it?
Basinger. Basinger.
Basinger.
They are going to take bids tomorrow, and hopefully within 10 to 12 months, you'll be shopping there if you choose.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
10 to 12 months. Keeping you on that. Anyway, is there anybody else that would like to speak in favor of this application? Anybody in opposition? Okay, with that, I will ask for a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion to approve and second. Any discussion? Call for the vote. Motion approved. And joyfully so, I guess. Next case, SP 40-14, Moore and Associates. You got Mr. Craig again?
Andy Craig, Moore and Associates, 6025 Buncombe Road, Shreveport 71129. This lot is being subdivided to make two building sites, one for the owner and one, the other one for his daughter. You know, the staff report is currently zoned to RA, which does not allow this size lots, but if you look at case number 11 down your agenda, is the rezoning case for this piece. So the plat would be contingent on approval later of the rezoning.
Should have had the other one first.
Madam Chair.
There was a comment about the sewer service. There is a City of Shreveport force main on the other side of North Lake Shore. We plan to serve these two lots with a pump into that force main. So we will not have to be putting a private sewer system in. It was, at first thought, that was what it's going to be, and as you see in the report, but we will not have to put a septic system in, any of that, so we will be able to, that is what will allow the smaller lots there.
Should we put this on?
Just slightly less than an acre.
Oh, we'll cover that.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's Steve.
Okay. Steven, should we put this case off till if we approve or disapprove?
I would just clarifying, you could suspend your rules to actually put this off until you actually hear the zoning case if you'd like. We did these in exact order that they were received, and that's the reason they're not put on the
That's our
agenda together.
rules.
Yes.
I understand.
When we changed that, that's kind of changed the way we don't couple them together any
We
longer.
don't come across it very often. So do I have a motion to suspend the
Well,
rules? Oh,
I think since he's already spoke, you need to do anybody else favor, anybody against, then make the motion.
do I have to do the favor and against, or can I suspend?
Then suspend?
You gotta vote on it.
Uh,
Oh, no, you gotta hear the whole case first.
No, hear the whole case, then
And then
suspend.
suspend it,
Yeah, I
okay.
didn't know
That's where I was
And you
going.
can just do the votes later in the hearing.
All right.
We'll do a two for Andy.
Sorry?
A two for, we'll do you
Okay.
both of them.
Anybody, and does anybody have any questions for Mr. Craig?
Nope.
All right, thank you, Mr. Craig. Anybody else would like to speak in favor of this case? Is there anybody that wants to speak in opposition? Okay, hearing none.
Motion to suspend
Second. All right.
rules to hear the case.
Any discussion, Mr. Vermedes?
Just gonna suggest that
I can't
go
hear
ahead and
you.
hear the other case now, where everything is,
We usually do not go out of order.
that's exactly what we're doing now. We're just suspending the rules.
We're suspending it
That's
to
fine.
here to the next case.
Okay. I did hear the second.
Yes, there was a second by Miss Bessie. So our motion is to suspend the case till the, and I'm going to call for the vote. Okay. Motion approved, and on to the next one. Case number CA 5-14, BL Bickham.
Going once.
Is Mr. or Mrs. B.L. Bickham here? Or somebody representing him?
And we usually have a representative of the parish. I don't see a representative of the parish public works here. We can answer any questions that you may have regarding this case.
Okay, let's Stephen kind of tell us about what we're looking at here.
Well, basically, what this amounts to is for this owner to convert this street that is a public dedication to a private road. That's in effect of what you're doing. Now, when they first talked to about this, they indicated they may not even develop these lots. We indicated that they may want to just rescind the subdivision entirely. They did not want to do that, but they did want to do away with the public dedication.
What's the zoning around this private road?
I believe all of this is RA.
RA? I can't hear you very well.
There
I'm
is
sorry.
some R1D, and yeah, that layer doesn't seem to be turned on. I believe that is R1D as it goes forward to the north, as I recall.
So it's,
But
they want
this
to,
is strictly just to convert this from a public dedication to a private road, is what this action would do.
Madam Chairman,
yes, sir.
since there's nobody here from the parish, and it is on private property, what was the purpose of a parish road on the private property to begin with? Go to a well,
It was
go to
plat-
access?
No, sir. It was platted as lots.
So
This
there's
was
no
actually a
hard service
subdivision.
on this is grass?
There is nothing here right now. It's not improved.
Is it, Alan?
Totally undeveloped.
Not developed at all. And, because that was one of our questions, is why don't you just rescind the subdivision? But for some reason or another, they didn't want to do that. Now, they could come back later and combine the lots after this action is done and make it just one piece of property if they wanted to. There's different actions that they could possibly take. That was our first recommendation, was just to rescind the subdivision entirely, because that would take care of the dedication and all the lot lines. What will happen here is, if you take this action, all you've done is converted this from a public dedication to a private road. Basically,
you,
that's all
Stephen.
you've done. It becomes a private road, right of way.
All right. Well, any other questions for Mr. Jean? I need to ask if there's anybody else out here that would like to speak in favor of this application? Is there anybody out that wants to speak in opposition of this application? Okay.
Madam Chair, motion to approve the applicant's request to abandon, closure and abandon.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the closure and abandonment, and we have a second. Any discussion? Call for vote.
Why you didn't say?
I wanted
Is that
put a
it?
couple stipulations on it.
All right, sometimes I don't see it blink. Oh, okay, because I'm looking there instead of here. Motion approved. All right, case number CA 6-14, Joanne Shepherd et al.
Madam Chair, I don't see anyone from the city of Shreveport regarding this particular case.
All right, Mr. Jean, would you like to?
Yes,
Found
and
opponents?
I'm going to add some verbal comments that are not in your report.
Is your microphone not working? Or am I just hard of hearing?
Hello?
No comments, Mr. Remedies?
I will make sure I speak up.
Say,
This particular dedication is a walkway that was put in place a number of years ago. From what I understand, was originally put in place to allow a pedestrian walkway primarily for school children, to allow them a pathway to the school. Now, this school's not open at the current time, and there are serious condition issues with the connecting bridge that goes through this property. If we close this walkway, what we've done is we've allowed the adjacent property owners, what they've been doing is taking care of this property for a number of years. It's not really being utilized. They believe this is a hazard, and that therefore should be closed. The other flip side of that is that we are closing potential connectivity that, of course, our master plan encourages for us to have various connections to neighborhoods. But we weren't able to get any commitments that there be improvements to this bridge that would allow this to be a safe access way to go through currently. So that is the dilemma we have with this, is that once we remove this, well, then that connectivity is gone. And now, there's not a long, there's no other way, as you look at this, because this was connected to a bridge, that if you were to try to go back to this neighborhood again, you're going to be going a long distance. So,
Is that-
but there are some apparent safety concerns regarding the condition of that bridge at the current time and the condition of the connecting walkway.
I have two questions then. Is the school, you think, ever going to be reopened? Is there any plans for that?
Well, it could be-
And second of all, what does the master plan say for that area?
Well, this area here is all residential low. You know, as you know, schools are part of that use district that we talk about. The biggest issue, I think, that the master plan talks about that pertains to this case is the interconnectivity issue.
Okay.
That is, you know, but you have some other issues as you read this report, where you have some issues with the condition of the connecting bridge. So, you know, is that something that we should allow that access way to remain open because of that issue? And if that's what these property owners are attempting to have, because of the fact that they just believe that this would be, moving forward, would be better services. It's not really needed for its original intended purpose.
Yes,
Yes, Ms. Bessie.
yes. From what I've read, according to their signature, Mr. Jean,
Yes.
in our package, they was very specific in letting you know that they wanted to take that in as property for themselves. And that school, J.S. Clark, will be utilized again. It is in the making to reopen. So I have gotten some calls from citizens that's saying that they have not met with them and they really want it to remain as is.
Who didn't meet, I'm sorry, who didn't meet with whom?
They didn't get letters, and in my package that I received, Mr. Jean, that's what I was saying.
The neighbors
they-
did not get letters, or the school?
The only people that was concerned about that, the school is too far to get letters. The
Okay.
school is closed at this time. But according to documentation, the school is supposed to be reopening
Okay.
again, J.S. Clark. And I know you received some letters, did not you? Because they was mailed to me. And stated specifically why they wanted it closed.
We have information of why they wanted to close it, yes.
Yes.
Yes. It's part of the petition. There were people who signed it, wanted it to be closed.
Got it?
Okay, so there's,
I'm just pointing out, just want to make sure that I just give you all the information
Right,
for you to
right.
make this decision.
so it's, are we in discussion phase?
No.
Where are we?
We're asking
we are.
we're asking Mr. Jean questions.
Since
Let me
there's
go
nobody-
through the proper procedure, and then we can have a discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Anybody else that would like to speak in favor of this case? Is there anybody in opposition? Okay. Now, in order to do discussion, we have to make a motion.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Due to Ms. Bessie's comments about the potential opening the school, and the fact that we don't have the pertinent information, and we're not talking about some of the impacts to people, it's not like we're trying to develop it. I think more information is needed. I don't think you can make this decision on this case at this moment, because you don't know if they're opening the school back up. You don't know if that could be a potential access point. Or you don't know if the city's going to put up the money to fix the bridge. I think until you know more information, why are you?
Is this your motion? I need a motion.
So my motion is to defer the case, since there's no one here to speak for or against it. We need somebody to come tell us what they plan to do.
Okay, I have a motion to
Defer.
defer, I have a
Second.
second. So now, your
So my whole thing is until somebody can stand at that microphone, tell us what the intentions are for the school, what their intentions. Therefore, you don't know if the path is even relevant anymore. And if the city's not gonna put up any money to fix it, it's not relevant. It
But
needs
don't
to
they
be
have an
abandoned and-
obligation to, doesn't the city have an obligation to make it safe and secure?
Well, I think that's what the city's saying here, is with all the budget constraints, they're removing things that
But they're not here to say
They're
that.
not the petitioners, are they?
Miss Babette, Miss Fuller?
Thank you. The school's open.
The school is
Across
open.
the- It's across the parking lot from one of my libraries. The school's open, it's operable right now. I was wondering if there was another school in the area that was actually closed or abandoned that we were discussing and not that one.
Okay.
That's my,
So J.S. Clark didn't close it?
they were closed, but they're utilizing it now.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
okay.
So it's
So,
still
but
open.
but the city's asking to close it, the neighbors around it?
No, the neighbors are asking. to
Joining
close it.
property owners.
The adjoining property
The
owners.
petitioner are the adjacent
Okay,
owners.
but
The
the city,
adjacent owners.
the city's not taking care of the property. and
Apparently
it's
not.
a hazard. So
Evidently
if the
not.
roles were reversed,
Yes.
property standards would be out.
Alan would be out
Hold
there
on.
visiting.
Hold on, one at a time, please. Please, Mr. Remedies, go ahead and finish your
No, I was
conversation.
just saying it's ironic that the city has the obligation, and they're not taking care of their, the property that's obviously a hazard.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
I just think we need, and I know these people need us to get this case out of the way. I just think we need 30 days for the city to come stand in front of that microphone and say, are you going to fix the bridge or not? And if you're not going to fix the bridge, in my opinion, we abandon the thing so it no longer is even a premise of being a safety hazard. Safety is more important. So that's where I'm going with this. And so I need somebody to stand at that microphone to tell us that, though. And they're
Got
not
that.
here. And that's the problem. You're trying to decide a case based upon a piece of paperwork in front of you, and you don't know all the facts. And because we're not doing something that affects anybody today, I don't see why the big issue is to make them come. If they don't come, we'll base it off the information we have, we'll move on next month.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Anybody else have any items to discuss?
I would just say that from this little map, it does not look at all in keeping with pedestrian-friendly master plan ideas, because I can't see a way out of this little area. I mean, unless you go all the way around, I don't know, I can't, it's not even on the map, an exit without that. So anyway, just wanted to, but if it's unsafe, that is primary.
Thank you, Mrs. Cooper. Any other discussion items? And I will, the vote was to defer to continue. We had a second, so I'll call for the vote. Motion is approved. Case number C4414, Circle K Stores, Inc. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
If you can just please state your name and address for the record.
A little organized here. Madam Chair, members of the board, staff, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Tim Peters. I'm Real Estate Development Manager for Circle K Stores. I reside at 541 Slattery, 71104. We are pleased to represent this case for your consideration and approval. We are requesting a zoning change for a portion of a property from a B1 to a B2, with the part of it remaining as a B1. In order to develop a new Circle K store having 3,200 square feet, new parking, new landscaping, new tanks, new lighting, and requesting a site plan approval also. As to the current zoning, we currently lease and operate a site that has 1,223 square feet and has 3 pumps. It's terribly outdated for today's market, and quite frankly is a real eyesore for the area, with terrible parking, vehicular congestion, and dangerous number of curb cuts, some of which are too close to the intersection. The existing site that we're on is Zone B2. In order to construct a new modern facility with the items and convenience today's customers desire, it is necessary for us to buy the adjacent property to our east. This property is Zone B1. As the members of this board may recall, we were here at the July hearing and received unanimous approval for the zoning and approval of site plan, which will be discussed in a few moments. It was only remanded back to this board due to an error in the legal notice that went out prior to that hearing. During the last hearing, a point was made from the public that the city code required that B1 be a buffer between B2 and any residential use. I could not find either in print or in practice that that is an absolute legal requirement. Rather, it's a preferred methodology and guidance in zoning, which is common around the country. In analyzing the zoning in the area around our site, and that affected by the SBI 6 overlay ordinance, there have been numerous precedents set by the city that B2 zoning can, as in fact, next to residential zoning, and in several cases, even from B3 to R1. On this zoning map from the City of Shreveport website, there are 16 instances highlighted in yellow where B2 or even B3 zoning is next to either an R3 or an R1 zoning classification. There are 2 instances of B3 to R1, 8 instances of B2 to R1, and 3 instances of B2 to R3, and some of these uses touch a residential use in tandem. In many of these cases, this adjacency is next to some of the highest priced housing in the City of Shreveport, here at Delmar and Thornhill, Southfield and Camellia, backing up to Richmond at Southfield, and backing up to Thora. All of these instances are much farther away from our site and intrude much more deeply into housing than our proposed change. The most telling is kitty corner across the street, where a B2 is adjacent an R1 use that is 47 feet farther east than our proposed rezoning. This is the zoning map that was done after the SBI 6. So you see B2 with an R1. We're across the street 47 feet farther west. This evidence offsets any argument that the use is allowed in a B2 zoning to depress home prices, as this area of Shreveport is, of course, one of the finest collections of housing in Shreveport, if in fact not the entire southeast United States. It was stated in the last hearing by someone that we were requesting an unprecedented zoning intrusion into a neighborhood, and this evidence I just presented shows that nothing could be further from the truth. In the United States in general, a B1 zoning is reserved for a single neighborhood situation. A neighborhood is defined by yourdictionary.com as a group of houses or buildings that are together in an area or that are grouped together as a unit. LendingTree.com, which is one of the largest mortgage processors in the country, says a neighborhood should have access to an economic center. Most people want convenience. That means an easy commute to their job, as well as living close to shopping and restaurants. It should at least have easy access to them. It should have a solid reputation. A good neighborhood appeals to a wide variety of people. Numerous factors play into that: well-manicured lawns, well-maintained homes, as well as junk-free properties. They recommend when buying a home, choose a location that's convenient to shops and services, has good schools, and a good reputation, end quote. It would appear that our use fits into what LendingTree.com is looking for when financing a home. B2, on the other hand, serves in multiple neighborhoods of the community at large. By the sheer volume of traffic and amount of existing commercial activity at this intersection, Line and Piermont is, by definition, a community location. It is not a quaint, idyllic neighborhood with walking paths and parks such as found at Gilbert and Fern. Both Line and Piermont are major arterials designed to serve the community as a whole, not just a single preferred subdivision. Brookshires could not survive in a neighborhood shopping center, as evidenced by their closed store at Fern, Gilbert, and Gregg. UPS could not survive in such a setting. Jason's Deli could not, neither could the Oyster Bar or the banks that are located at the subject intersection. These and other businesses located here thrive because of the community type of location of their modern facilities. In fact, given the surrounding uses and the depth of B2 zoning in every other direction, the existing B1 zoning is not consistent with the rest of the area and could be changed on that merit alone. To try and define this intersection as a neighborhood, quite frankly, defies the definition, logic, and ignores what is happening around it. I think it is important to remember that a single neighborhood on its own cannot survive without the community at large, and at the same time, the idea of isolationism by a single neighborhood does not benefit the community at large. In our request, we are not in fact setting a precedent, as the precedent for a B2 zoning going east on Line Avenue has already occurred, as seen by the Rite Aid and the dentist office directly across the street, here and here. We are not asking to go any further east than what is allowed to cross the street, and the B2 zoning in our use will be buffered by, from the R1, not only by the B1, but also the R3. This is the B2, the B1, the R3, which is immediately adjacent to our use. We are being asked to do something to which no other users in this area have had to comply. This B1 buffer, which as far as I've researched, does not have a required size. It was requested by the homeowners in our meeting with them, and the threeplex next door has been unoccupied since the current owner acquired in 2008, and it's currently being used for storage. And he's advised me it is not even in rentable condition. As to the site plan, I'll try to be brief. This is our existing development, the old Circle K store, Dr. Winder's office, and the fourplex. Close-up of Dr. Winder's office, 1950s vintage building, not conducive really to the rest of the neighborhood. This is his fourplex. You can see the beautiful landscaping that's there, the dumpster that's still out front, all the cable wires that's wrapped around the building. This is the R3 property. This is the back of Dr. Winder's property where all the trees are covered in asphalt. This is a shot of the intersection overhead. You can see the lack of landscaping on all of these corners. Our current condition, we actually have the highest percentage of landscaping if you add Dr. Winder's at 13% of landscaping of our total site. Brookshire's Shopping Center has less than 2% landscaping. Superior Steakhouse less than 6%. The Rite Aid is less than 13%. Our proposal will increase our landscaping to almost equal to the Rite Aid, and it will have 21% landscape coverage. This is a shot showing a colored version of the site plan. You can see the additional landscaping that we're having, those kind of things. Since our last hearing, we made numerous changes to the plan. We are in compliance with the SPI 6 overlay, and changes we made also are based on parts and comments from the previous hearings and from our meeting with the homeowners. They include that we had a dumpster here, we've relocated back to here, we've added a bike rack, we've added a marked pedestrian way from Piermont to the store, we've added 60 feet of wrought iron fencing here and here, complete with screening landscaping. We've also added a new oak tree back in this corner and a silverleaf maple, and we've redesigned the corners of our building to be similar with other buildings and create a softer residential feel. So this is what you have now, a dangerous situation with curb cuts that are too close to the corner. We have difficulty getting trucks in and out to service the store. This is an elevation of what the store will look like. And this is a rendering from the same view of the photograph, basically cleaned up, substantially more landscaping, smaller sign, and a much more beautiful, attractive store for the community.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Just in time, too. Nice presentation. I'm going to ask the board, do you have any question for Mr. Peters? I have, do you have a question? Okay, because I do,
Ladies
but go
first.
ahead.
Ladies first.
Can you tell me about the lighting plan? And is there any intrusion on the neighboring properties?
This is a picture of what the new lighting will look like. As you can see, there's darkness in this area out here. There's also darkness in between the store and the canopy. The reason for this is that the new lighting will be a type of LED lighting that is much more directionally controlled. The current lighting is a glass dome and light shines out horizontally as well as vertically. This light will be pointed downward. Let's see, this plan. This plan, it's kind of hard to read these numbers, but these numbers represent candle watt power that's coming out of a light. And the numbers in here are in the 40s and 50s. These are as if we put in the new canopy with the existing style lighting. Outside of this, the only intrusion into the street happens out at this point, and that would be coming from some lighting. What this means is that there is a street light here and here. If those street lights were not there, this street would be dark. So while you can see the light from across the street, it's not contributing to lighting on the street.
That's on Piermont, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Under the new plan, these numbers under the canopy drop to the mid-30s and low 40s, and we drop to, there's 1 candle foot power out here in the street, so it's really insignificant. Additionally, to the side, we've got 1 and 2, but we're also going to have all the new screening, fencing, and everything like that. And that house next door is lower, and if it ever were occupied again, you wouldn't be able to see the lighting through the trees.
Thank you. That answered one of my questions. I have more, but if anybody else would like to speak first.
Yeah, I had a question. Have you made any changes since the last time? I don't remember exactly what the renderings looked like before, but after meeting with the neighbors, were there any changes made to the site plan?
Yes, as I stated in my presentation, there's an existing dumpster here. We had originally located it here. It was just a little bit easier for the city dump truck to get in to get it. But one of the neighbors expressed concern about possible noise from that. We relocated it back over to here, which, by the way, this dumpster wall will be built out of the same material that's on the outside of the store and also the canopy columns, so it'll match.
Did you change the look of the building? Because I
Yes.
didn't, on this one, it looks like you got more little architectural peaks and...
And we came in and the door was centered here. We've moved the door over just to bring it a little bit farther down. We added 3 hip roofs
That's what I thought. Okay.
that will be on both corners facing Piermont. This is the corner that faces Line and Piermont. This is the corner that's the back of the store on Line Avenue. It costs us $5,000 to redesign this building, and it's going to cost another $30,000 just to build these little parapets on the...
And did you do this to be more conducive to the neighbors?
Yes.
Tell me, why did you do this?
Because the people expressed that they thought our first building was a little too harsh and didn't look soft enough for the residential unit. They did say that they liked the look of this building. You can see the hip roof design here. We have a slightly different awning, but so in character with that. We did try the gable roof approach to make it look like the White House next door, but it just didn't work architecturally. It didn't work.
Any of your other Circle Ks have this kind of design?
None of the stores that we're building right now.
All right.
This is a custom project.
All right, since you're covering more land mass and making a bigger building, is this I've got 2 questions. Is this a typical building size for your Circle Ks? And what about, is there going to be any problem with drainage or anything like that and runoff? Or did you address all that?
I don't know, you've not been before us.
Well, the store size issue, I went and researched how big convenience stores are that are being built today. A traditional store, this is according to the National Association for Convenience Retailing. The traditional convenience store being built today is 2,500 to 3,000 square feet, and it has 2 to 4 pumps. These are generally built in very small markets where there's not very much traffic in an intersection, maybe 20,000 cars a day. Pretty much you don't see a convenience store that goes to an intersection that has less than 20,000. We won't even consider one. They also call the next tier is an expanded convenience store, 3,200 to 3,600 square feet with 4 to 6 pumps. A hyper, or what has maybe been referred to as a mega store, is over 5,000 square feet with 8 to 12 pumps.
And we're looking at how many?
We're looking at 3,200 square feet and only 4 MPDs, so we fall on the smaller side of convenience stores being built today, and in fact, this is the smallest prototype that we have. As far as what's being built to replace what's there, the 4 red buildings that are located here are what currently exist on the property. These buildings comprise of over 4,453 square feet, so we're actually reducing the footprint of the building by %. So that's,
Okay.
and again, that's only a 9.4% building coverage. The city of Austin in this zoning classification will allow 25% building coverage if you can park it. As far as your other questions, drainage,
Yeah, I'm sure that's all in the site plan and been looked at and all that, correct, Stephen?
I was out, currently on this site, there's about 3.5 cubic feet per second of water that's leaving the site, which means virtually none of it's being collected
Done your homework.
and staying. I was out in the rain yesterday and caught this. So this front drive, this water runs off here, and then it turns the corner, it goes down Piermont. This is the back of our building. We've got roof drains that come out and dump onto Dr. Winder's property. All of Dr. Winder's buildings have no gutters. They flow over. You can see the rain splattering here, funneling down into this area. This is looking back into his corner. There's 2 rivets of water that flow over to the R3 building. I don't know if they go over the fence wall or they turn and then go out onto Piermont. You can see another one here. This is, you'd get your socks wet if you walked into this, it's that deep. Then it flows out and it collects onto Piermont, and you can see about 2 to 3 feet of spread here. All of this is running down. This is effectively water coming off of this site because it crowns and flows back down Edgemont on one side, and then our site flows downline down Piermont. And I didn't get a shot of Cresswell or Dillingham down there at the bottom. This is what happens next to Cuban Liquor. You can see the spray from this truck. We will be capturing underground all of our downspouts, our drains, parking lot drains will be going into underground detention that will capture all but 0.2 cubic feet of water, which is almost nothing.
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Bessie?
I have a question. I know you built one there on Southfield, and I'm very concerned when you did share that picture. It's beautiful, the one you're talking there on Piermont and Line. I'm wondering now in the Highland area, the building, will it look like the one that you're building? And you hit a nerve with me, so I want to know, will that one look like the one on the corner of Olive and Line Avenue?
The one on Line and Olive was just
Exactly.
a year design before these two, so it looks like the building we built in Bossier City at Old Minden and I-20. It's a little bit different. It's got a brick facade across about the bottom 4 feet. It doesn't have the stacked stone and the columns around the canopy. It's just a slightly older generation.
Okay, one more question, I'm sorry, but I remember from last case, and I don't mean to grill you, but I need these answered. There was this stuff about, refresh my memory, something about the billboard?
Yes, we don't own the billboard. It's owned by Lamar. They are on a lease that has a term of the primary lease left about till the end of November 2015. They had 2 5-year options on that. We went to Lamar and asked them if they would consider moving the sign, that we would give them a long-term lease on another location. They responded by exercising their next 2 options. So they are locked in until 2025, but as part of this process, if we get the new store under the conditions that we need it in, then we'll agree that an ordinance can be written that no billboards would be allowed on our property after that time.
After 2025, they have a right, there's nothing you can do about that.
Until 2025, they're there.
And then you would put in that you would not have it after that?
That's correct.
You still own the property and all that?
Well, you could,
We could stick the conditions.
the city council could put it in the ordinance.
All right, we could, actually.
Ronnie could.
Okay,
Madam Chair.
yes, I want to make sure. Anybody else have any questions?
Well, I'm going to direct this to Ms. Jean, and then there's potential that Mr. Peters, correct?
Yes.
May respond to it. Mr. Jean, there's been some questions about the direction which it faces at Piermont versus Line Avenue, and would you please address the SPI 6 and how that falls in with that?
I don't recall it giving any guidance to where it faces. I think that what often we hear when we're talking about those is that whether or not we are encroaching into residential areas with more intensity. I don't recall anything in the SPI 6 that spoke to the
Compliance to which way it faces.
where it's oriented. No, sir. And we don't have anything in our ordinance that speaks to orientation, where it's required to be oriented one area versus another.
Mr. Peters, this is a state highway that you're going to be abutting, and DOTD has given you all the approvals for the reduced curb cuts and the distance from the intersection. Am I correct?
I'm not certain if it's a state highway or city, but the curb cut design was discussed with Robert Westerman at the city, and he approved it. He's the one that suggested that we should have a median on Piermont. It's only going to be as wide as the yellow striping is, and it'll be about 6 inches high. And what happens is, I saw this just the other day, a car coming westbound or eastbound on Piermont waited in the light to turn left across a left turn bay and 2 lanes to get into that corner curb cut, and it happens all the time. It's a really dangerous situation, and this design will make people actually make a legal left-hand turn at the light and enter the property on our Line Avenue curb cut, or go on down to the curb cut on the east and then come into the site on this one. This is a right-in, right-out only cut, and the reason that Mr. Westerman agreed that this was useful is that rather than trying to force people that are trying to leave to these 2 cuts, it would alleviate congestion there, because even somebody that wanted to go out onto Line could come here, take a right, and take a right at the light and go on. And if they wanted to go west, they could go west. So that was part of the design for that. As to the facing of the store, the SPI 6 ordinance actually requires a business to have a door on both sides of the building. It's just one reason why we have doors on both sides. We face this way because when we actually were originally designing this site, we were contemplating facing it to Line Avenue. The SPI 6 ordinance with its additional landscaping requirement didn't give us enough room to put the building and face it towards Line.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Any other questions? Yes, Mr. Roy. Sorry. I've done that how many times?
But I like
Mr. Clark. I've done it twice today. Mr. Clark.
I was just trying to understand, and I apologize that I didn't really hear everything you were saying, Mr. Peters, about the buffer that was being requested, not required, being requested. I did not know if you were saying that by building in the SPI 6, I think there's a provision in the SPI 6 for non-residential properties abutting single-family and two-family housing. I know this is R3, where that buffer is required. Were you saying that you thought that you were being treated unfairly by being requested to provide a buffer between your property and that residential property?
Oh, it's not. I didn't hear that. I thought he was accommodating the neighborhood.
I was trying to make clear.
Okay.
He was saying that for the first time in history.
Well, I didn't say it's the first time in history, but in this area, all of these yellow highlighted areas have a business zoning B1, B2, or B3 immediately adjacent in R1.
Right.
We are going to have our B2, a B1, an R3, then an R1. Across the street, you've got B2 to an R1. We're the only people in this area that I can tell that actually have a step down in the zoning that the code contemplates. Nobody else around here has that, and it hasn't affected anybody's housing values.
Thank you. Did it answer your
And all I-
question?
No, and all I was saying, Tim, that all of this development was prior to the SPI 6 ordinance being enacted, where the provision for the 25 feet, and it was talking about landscaping, as you all know, talking about landscaping and trees and so forth, that just established that natural buffer. And I was just asking, were you saying you didn't want to do it, or you were going to do it? I just didn't understand.
As far as the landscaping, we're adding wrought iron fencing at a pretty good cost, additional landscaping along the east property line that's not required. The SPI 6 does require that there be a buffer zone along property lines adjacent to single or two-family properties. We're with a three-family property, but we're still going to go ahead and meet those requirements.
And that's all I was asking.
Thank you.
I didn't quite understand. I was trying to follow you along the way.
Thank you for clarifying. Thank you. What, let me tell you the right name. All right, any other questions for Mr. Peters? Can we move on? Thank you very much. Appreciate you answering all the questions. Anybody else would like to speak in favor of this application? Anybody else? Is there anybody that wants to speak in opposition of this application?
I have,
Go ahead.
I'm handing in petitions signed by 143 people in favor of this.
Okay.
34 individual letters, 72% have identified themselves as either living in South Highlands or near Piermont. So that's for your...
Thank you, sir. Okay, anybody in opposition? And I just want to clarify that the first principal spokesperson has 10 minutes, and then each individual will have 3 minutes after that.
Oh, we called and checked. I'm going to be the principal spokesperson, but
Okay.
we've asked that I speak last. And so everybody that speaks is going to speak first for 3 minutes and then go from there.
Is that okay? All right, so we need to put 3 on the timer. And please state your name and your address for the record.
I'm Jennifer Kingery. I live at 703 Piermont Road, Shreveport, 71106. I basically live across the street and about 3 houses down from the current Circle K location. And it's not that I'm opposed to new development in our area. I'm just basically opposed to the 24-hour Circle K location that will...
Okay, I'm going to stop you, and if she needs more time. The 24-hour is not under our vote or jurisdiction. That goes to the ZBA.
Okay.
So we can't even hear it.
Okay, gotcha.
I apologize, but that's just the way it works.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
I'm just opposed to the new Circle K possible expansion that would be over 1,500 square feet larger, that would face and open up to Piermont, which would be our neighborhood, that would provide no real B1 buffer. And with that in mind, I did get a petition signed from the neighbors on Piermont that would be directly affected by this expansion. And as you can see here and as you have in front of you, the majority of the neighbors in the 700 to 400 addresses of Piermont, which would be directly affected by this, are in opposition for these things that I've stated. So 100% of the neighbors that I did visit with this petition signed. I'm just asking that you respectfully request and consider those that are most directly affected by this issue. And I thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Kingery. Thank you for your input. Anybody else would like to speak in opposition?
And also this aerial view before I leave is actually just showing this 600 and 700 block of Piermont. And you can see this one yellow circle should be red, but the majority of the residents right there also oppose this expansion.
Any questions for Ms.? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to speak in opposition?
I'm Margaret Rossbottom. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And I live at 731 Piermont Road, Shreveport 71106. It's the house that's directly almost across the street from this proposed new development. I'm the first home there. And I just wanted you all to know that I have lived there almost my entire life. I was there before Circle K. There used to be a trolley that turned around right there on that corner, and there were no developments at all. No Brookshires, nothing, just huge trees everywhere. And there was a 2-lane road that went down in front of my house, and it ended at Dillingham because there were huge trees down there and horses roamed around in the trees. So I've been there a long time, and I have been like a personal witness to the commercial progress at the corner of Piermont and Line. And progress has been good. And it's been good because we've had great commercial neighbors. Rite Aid closes at 10, Brookshires closes at 10, McDonald's closes at 10, the steakhouse, they take their last order at 10 o'clock and 11 on the weekend, so they've been great commercial neighbors. We don't oppose the development that Circle K wants to do. It sounds exciting, it sounds great. It's just the way that they want to do it. Circle K has said that they cannot, their architects cannot design a building that will fit on those 3 lots that will face Line Avenue, which is the commercial part of that corner. They said they can't do it. But I'm asking you, if we can design a spaceship that can go from here to the moon and back, then Circle K needs a new architect. That's all I can say about that. I just feel that I've tried to find something positive, not just negative. We all know the negatives about it, but on the positive side, it will, yes, give more, number one, it'll give more jobs for the neighborhood, but God help those young people that have to take the graveyard shift at night. And then 2, it will bring the city more revenue. Yes, it will bring the city more revenue. As a matter of fact, Circle K told me they anticipate probably 10%, maybe 15, 10% more of everything, more traffic, more this, I guess, more revenue. So I'm asking you, is 10% more revenue to the city worth alienating almost the entire Piermont neighborhood and South Highland neighborhood? Sometimes more money isn't a positive. I just have a couple of questions that I would like to ask you before you make your vote today. And number 1 is, have any of you ever lived across the street from a 24-hour Circle K or convenience store? Have you ever lived almost directly across the street? And my second question is, would you like to live for the rest of your life across the street from a 24-hour convenience store facing you? I would appreciate your consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ma'am, hold on. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Rousbottom? Okay, thank you.
I have one.
Oh.
You're concerned about the size of the building? No, ma'am.
The facing
Just the
of it.
way that it faces. They want to face it onto Paramount. And it should face Line Avenue. It should face Line Avenue. And it should have decent hours, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, whatever, but like
we're
I
not
say,
discussing
that's
hours
not
here.
your... But it should face the commercial part. We've had great commercial neighbors. Rite Aid, they put their door on the corner. I mean, they're great neighbors.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like to speak in opposition? You have 3 minutes, and you need to state your name and address for the record, please.
Before you start the clock, can I understand how this works for a minute?
Sure.
If I hand you something and it goes here, then it...
It'll be on the screen.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I just technically am always challenged.
That's it.
My name is Sally Spruill. I live at 4537 Gilbert Drive, Shreveport, 71106. Thank you for your time and consideration. What I'd like to bring up first is the Metropolitan Planning Commission Land Use Report that you all have received. And I'd like to pay special attention to the master plan considerations. It reads, the future land use designation is general commercial, which are large commercial areas serving a citywide or regional trade area. When I read that after the last meeting, because I didn't have privy to it prior, it bothered me, because I too have been to the master plan meetings and the Unified Code Development meetings, and there's something about that bothered me, so I did some research into the master plan. What I found is this map of future land use. Is that? And I can't see distance with my glasses off, so forgive me. And when I looked at that map, I wanted to look for the term general commercial. And what did I find? You all can see it there, general commercial. It is indicated by red. There are some 15 different colors on this future land use map that dictates in the master plan how we are to go forward into the future. And general commercial is red. So I took that map and I blew it up so I could see it better. And this is what I saw. This is the area in question today. And you can see clearly the area of Line Avenue. Guess what? It's not red. It's light gray. Light gray, according to the master plan, is indicated for urban village, mixed use. How do we define an urban village? From the master plan, it says smaller mixed-use areas to concentrate neighborhood-serving retail and services, along with some residential development. It also says, including design standards that require connections and walkability. Now remember, general commercial was about city, area, large. That's not what an urban village is. That's not what's supposed to go here. Now, Mr. Peters eloquently brought to you the attention that we've made lots of mistakes in the city in the past. What we're trying to do with our master plan, I hope, because you all approved it, is we're trying to go forward better than we have in the past. So as we go forward in the past, I'm hoping that we will look at our master plan, see what it says, and follow what it says, because that's our future. All of the residents here, that is our future. Additional, in this master plan, it describes our neighborhood as one of stability. It is a stable neighborhood, and basically that means don't mess it up, okay? So with this today, I'm asking you to not vote for this zoning change, to keep this area the same. By voting no to the rezoning, you will make land use decisions consisting with the future land use as depicted in the map. You will preserve this stable neighborhood and this urban village by upholding the master plan that you approved. You will preserve the Special Public Interest District, or the SPI 6, that you recommended, which confirmed that this area is important. This urban village is one of 7 identified in the master plan. General commercial, there are more than 20 areas. And keep in mind, it is this general commercial area that the other supersized Circle K is located. General commercial red here, general commercial by I-49, urban village where we're located. Preserve the B1 buffer. I ask you, why should it go away? Protect our neighborhood. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Sproles? Did you, were you part of the neighborhood, when they met with, neighborhood group that met with the Circle K?
Only 5 people were allowed to attend that,
Okay.
according to Mr.
So,
Jeans.
no,
Is that
you-
correct? Is that correct? I think Mr. Jeans said only 5 people could go, so I was not invited.
I'm curious about that, but I want to ask you, I don't know if you're the best person to ask, but
Okay.
what the neighborhood asked, and maybe I should ask someone else, but maybe you can answer some of it.
Okay.
A neighborhood met with them and asked for, I know about the urban village and all this, and the Circle K is already there. So I'm looking at it saying that the neighbors said they wanted it to look more conducive to the area, the design, and that's important in an urban village. And we're going to come up against that a lot, so it is important to us. But I saw some design changes compared to the last one to make it fit in with the neighborhood better. Do you agree with that?
Personally, I don't. If you look at the corner right now, you will see, as we come from east to west, you will have single family, you will have multifamily with, I think it's a 4-plex. You'll hit the property we're talking about here, the zone Winder Turk property. You have a 4-plex that is occupied. And on that map where they signed the petition, the people who live in that building currently are opposed to this and were unaware of what was happening to their home, that it might be torn down. They had no idea. People on fixed income, where am I going to go? So you have that 4-plex that's going to be torn down if this goes forward. Then you have a doctor's office, a dermatology office, B1. Okay, that then leads into the general commercial, the B2. We have a small neighborhood Circle K right now. If Circle K wanted to fix it up and spruce it up and make it look better and make it look neighborly in a place where the neighborhood wants to come, we would say go for it. We'd love that idea. Keep it just like it is in size and scope, but make it look better. Now, they don't want to do that because Mr. Peters, and I will stand corrected if I'm wrong, has said unless it's 24 hours, they don't build it. Unless they can make it bigger and they can get more money from it, and these are my words, but this is basically what I hear when I hear him speak, they want diesel gas, they want trucks, they want more gas pumps, they want a 19-foot high canopy, they want a bigger store, they want. We don't want it. We'd like it to stay just like it is, but make it prettier just like it is. And you will have more of that urban village in what's there than what they're proposing. We will destroy the urban village.
Thank you. Any other questions? Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Anybody else in opposition?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
You might want to pull that down a little bit so we can hear you.
Is that
Say your
better?
name and address, please.
My name is Ann Gibson, and I live at 700 Piermont. If y'all will indulge me a little bit. Last week, I was coming back from work off of I-49, and I hit that red light there on Line Avenue in Piermont, which gave me that opportunity to see the Circle K over here and the Rite Aid over there. Well, I have lived on Piermont for 14 years now, and when I first wanted to move there, someone else bought the house that I wanted. And but in a year it was back on the market, and I thought, well, this is my opportunity. So I went for it, but I saw all of a sudden there was the Rite Aid on the corner, which wasn't there a year ago. And I'm thinking, well, this must be a reason why they wanted to sell, but I love the house. I asked my realtor about that, and I was concerned about all the commercialism coming down Piermont. And she says, don't worry about that. The city would never let that happen. Well, here I am in a position I hope not to be. And as I sat at the red light, I pictured in my mind the proposed large 3,200 square foot square foot Circle K facing Piermont with its gas pumps, multitudes of cars going in and out, heavier congestion on an already busy intersection, and more trash to pick up around my property. And already when trucks go down the street on Piermont, my house, which is on piers, literally shakes. They are asking for a 24-hour variance, which I understand your position there. And since my grandchildren stay with me at times, this is a great concern. My house is less than 300 feet from the B1 buffer zone. This would plainly be a breach of social contract, and I'm very opposed to this change. I'm not opposed to development, but this is not development. To me, this would be destruction. This would be putting the final nail on the coffin for Piermont Road. I am vehemently opposed to the Circle K facing Piermont. I firmly believe that violating the current B zone is wrong, and it is not the development that we want. I believe that the urban village concept created in the master plan for the Piermont Line corridor should be upheld and honored. We've already lost 10 feet of our front yards when the street was enlarged. We work hard and have an investment in this city as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibson. Any other questions? Comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Madam
Anybody?
Chairman,
Yes,
could I ask a question, staff?
sure.
Stephen, on this, they've got a facility there now that serves gas. Is it operated, I know we're not talking hours, is it operated 24 hours?
Yes.
Okay. On the application, they're going from B1 to B2. Do they have to change zoning to get the new site plan
You have to get
approval?
a new variance.
This particular use is not allowed in B1.
How are they doing it now?
Well,
They had a
they're
variance.
they're in B2 where they are now, but they're
Oh, I
expanding.
see, you're expanding the B1 side of it.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Meg Gorley. I live at 534 Piermont Road, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71106. The last time I came before you, the representative from Circle K spoke, then we spoke, then he had a rebuttal. Unfortunately, we didn't have a chance to have a rebuttal of that, so I'm just going to bring up something that he spoke to you about, because I just want you to get your facts straight. He said that statistics show that 24-hour facilities were safer than those that had set opening and closing times. I know that you don't have anything to do with that. I get it. But we're talking about crime now. So we thought that was a little funny, so I just kind of Googled it. And would you mind moving that, please? I'm sorry. Thank you. Can you see this? This is the Department of Justice COPS, Community-Oriented Policing Report that was done. And you can look it up on yourself. Finished in April 2007. Operation hours are by far the strongest factor contributing to convenience store robbery, particularly for stores open 24 hours a day. I'm just giving you that as just an example. I realize you're not doing 24 hours. I'm just giving you crime statistics. Here's another crime statistic. The Rite Aid across the street from Circle K, we are comparing crime statistics now. I'm just talking about crime right at this moment. And we weren't bringing it up before, but since the door opened, I just wanted to show. Circle K, this period of time, January 2011 to July 2014, the Rite Aid across the street. January 2011 to July 2014.
Ma'am, is this Circle K, that particular Circle K,
That
or all of
particular
Circle
Circle K and that Rite Aid.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? I'm just showing you the difference, okay? That, to me, speaks volumes, right? Now, I'm going to leave that up there. That's pretty impressive.
What's the 81 and 21? Explain that.
51 theft, shoplifting, 9 theft, 4 selling alcohol under 21, 3 burglary, 2 DWI, 1 count for each of the following: battery, counterfeit, curfew, entry remain forbidden.
Does Rite Aid sell alcohol?
Yes, it does.
Okay, all right. I don't know. I gotta keep it.
And I can give this to you. So that was just opening, I was just answering that. And I was one of the people who went with Ms. Kingery to get the petition signed. When we knocked on the door, there was, to Mr. Winder's fourplex, 100% occupied. One of the gentlemen there, Roy Salmons in apartment 4C, said that he goes to that Circle K quite a bit, and he was concerned. He was concerned because after dark, things start to get crazy, was the word. And he said, for instance, there are needles there now. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, yeah, up the ramp, the handicap ramp. So we went over and took a picture. All right, here's the Circle K. Here's the, we put a pin down to show you, but here's a close-up of the needle that was on, and it had been there for days, okay? So I'm just addressing crime, right? That's all I'm doing, because he opened the door for it. But as we did go door to door, I want you to know that we found many residents who had fought against the Rite Aid coming in and everything coming in, and they were frustrated with the city because they fought this and it was still pushed down our throats. So just so you know, we have been trying to work with them. I don't believe, like they're going to make you believe, that they will shut down and take their toys and go home. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think that they will rethink their options. They might look more closely at the lone ATM machine that's on the land adjacent to them, and maybe have to wait until some lease goes up. But that's what they ought to be doing, going up Line Avenue, not going down Piermont Road. And just so you know, there are people who have businesses that want to come in there, into Dr. Winder's office, by the way. He just hadn't put a sign up for sale. Any questions?
Questions from Ms. Corley? Thank you. Anybody else in opposition?
My name is Vicki Roark, and I live at 650 Piermont, which is right past Dillingham. So there's like 3 houses in between me and the white property that's vacant, that's been vacant. And there is so much traffic on our street already that none of our neighbors ever even visit each other and get to know each other. But because of this, they have gotten to know each other, because we've all come together, the people who live right there on Piermont. If this goes in facing Piermont like they're proposing, I believe, as do many of us, that it's going to create even more traffic for us. And I've lived there for 23 years this past June. My husband and I put in a circle driveway, a half-circle driveway, because of the traffic. And it helps a little bit, but there's times of the day that you can't get in and out of my driveway, either side of it, because there's so much traffic. And it's just going to get worse with more and more people stopping there. And I also want to ask, why do we need it? We have Rite Aid, where you can buy anything you need. You have Brookshire's, where you can get anything you need. Other than gas, what benefit is this development going to be to our community? Thank you.
Any questions from Ms. Roark? Thank you. I'm going to pause for a moment and have everyone stand that's in opposition of this application, so we can get a count. Mr. Clark, can you? He's counting. Got it, thank you. And in fairness, the people who stand who are in favor of this application. Thank you. All right, anybody else in opposition that would like to add something?
Good afternoon. My name is Cliff LeBlanc. I live at 831 Delaware Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71106. Madam Chairman, I think to answer your question, there's only a couple of us left to speak.
All right.
So, if that helps. I'm here to talk about the Circle K. We've presented to you guys before. We're not opposed to the development. I hope you hear that coming from just about everybody that speaks to you today. What we are asking is that it's appropriate development within the South Highlands Neighborhood Association. There's many neighborhoods that try to be what South Highlands is, or the developments like South Highlands, and we're just trying to hold on to what little we have left in that area and keep it as a South Highlands feel. South Highlands is a historic neighborhood. It's been designated by the state. Many new developments try to replicate what South Highlands already has. Under Shreveport's master plan, as you've heard, this is called an urban village. We need to maintain the urban village feel, and we believe that this development that they proposed will not maintain the urban village feel. We do believe that it is possible to maintain that, and that Circle K, again, as you have heard, can develop a plan that would accommodate this and meet the needs of the master plan and also meet the needs of the neighborhood. Part of what the burden on the, anytime anybody asks for a variance change, as you know, the burden is on them to prove the benefit to the community. We're asking, how will this benefit the community? It will increase traffic already on a busy intersection. We haven't seen the traffic study. They talk about erecting a median in the middle of Piermont. We have concerns of safety that will be a 6-inch, basically a 6-inch curb in the middle of a busy intersection. A, it will not prevent people from crossing over into that lane. As you know, many vehicles can cross a 6-inch curb with little hesitation. And B, if you drive up Piermont towards Piermont from 49, it is a blind intersection. It is a very steep hill. You cannot see what is on the other side of the intersection, and people do go fairly fast down that road right now. We're afraid that people will be turning in to that area, and it will create additional traffic hazards. I have a couple of pictures that I'd like to share with you. This is